Hey traders, what's up? So, welcome to Tuesday Psychology Lab Hour with Coach Becky here at BluSky. And this is a really valuable hour, I think, for all of us here as traders at BluSky, like wherever you're at in your trading journey, because there's so much potential we have to continually try and like make ourselves better and kind of rise up to the opportunity that trading is. So I am going to kind of slow ease into this, allow people to kind of recognize what time it is and pop into the room. But welcome to everyone who is here. Happy to have you guys. And I don't know if everyone has noticed, but today happens to be June 30th. And that is the end of the first 2 quarters of the year, the first half of the year. And kind of like a little bit of a breaking point. We're into summer solstice. Summertime is upon us in the US. It's very, the nice warm months. Everyone's outside, everyone's shifting, everyone's thinking about where we have come so far this year and what we have still to get into in 2026. So, I want to talk a little bit about what our goals are and how this year is going, and kind of about how to progress into the coming months with like our greatest strength and to become the best trader that you can be, because that is kind of the goal for all of us, right? Is to rise up to our full potential and really capitalize on the opportunities that we have. So, that's where I want to kind of lean into and focus today, is about how far we've come, what it looks like, and how we can, drill in and double down on everything that we are working to achieve this year. So thank you for joining me at Tuesday Psychology Lab, you guys. Okay. This is the general plan for today. I want to talk a little bit about where we started this year and what it has looked like so far. Where are we at now? What's up, Miriam? Thank you for popping in. And then kind of reconnect to our goals and the intentions that we set for ourselves at the start of this year. We did a little bit of a chat on goals in January of this year to get ready for everything we wanted to build and grow as traders, as humans, as entrepreneurs, as business people, for ourselves. And now is a good time to just kind of think about what all has transpired and where we're headed from here, and maybe recommit to goals and momentum forward. So I think we're still kind of trickling in for today, but someone wants to give me a little thought about what is one word that describes your trading in the first half of 2026. What do you guys think? Trading in the first half of 2026. I should have thought about that for me, honestly. I think mine has been interesting. I think I would have to go with interesting. Hey, Awaji, welcome in, girl. We're going to talk a little bit about where we're at in our year so far and where we're going. So let's see what we got. Let's see how it goes. So why are we having this conversation today? Well, it's the last day of the quarter two of this year. It's the halfway point in our year for trading, for goals, for just a fiscal time opportunity to kind of think about things. It's a good time to, more consistent than last year. Thanks, Waji. I love that. So it's not really just a calendar milestone, because months come and go all the time, right? Every 30-ish days. But it's an opportunity to take a moment. So I want to invite us all to kind of pause and think about honestly where we have come from, how we're going, what our intentions are, how we are honoring those intentions, and what we ought to continue to grow. Consistently profitable. Yes, Mary, I love that. So the traders who grow aren't the ones who never struggled. So, they are not. They are the ones who kept showing up and kept refining. So to be a consistently profitable trader is something, but to be an evolving, developing, growing trader is still a very beautiful place. Even if your P&L at the end of every month is not exactly maybe what you had hoped it would have been when you started this month, this season, this goal of trading, it is still growing and evolving the more you show up, such as to the psychology lab and for the conversations and the people in the rooms that help you be your best self. And so I want to encourage you that is something to be proud of also during this. Now, let's talk a little bit about the neuroscience behind goals, because I want to remind us all about why we even have these conversations, why it is something that a lot of people focus in on the New Year's, and it feels like a fresh opportunity and you want to drill in and think about what you want to do, and that there actually is some neuroscience behind having objectives with our life. And so a study published in the British Journal of Health Psychology found that participants who wrote down their goals and revisited them regularly were 2 to 3 times more likely to follow through than those who only intended to act, who maybe just spoke them to a friend, didn't write them down, never thought about them again, didn't pay any attention. 2 to 3 times is a lot. If you just think about a P&L, like 1,000 versus 2 to 3,000, that's a big difference, right? 2 to 3x is a big difference. If you actually pay attention to your goals, you have them written down in a place, in a journal that you revisit regularly, that can be really powerful, right? Hey, consistent is great, Miriam. Another one, psychologist Gail Matthews at Dominican University found that people who wrote down their goals, shared them, and maintained accountability had a 76% success rate versus 40. Write them down if you pay attention, if you share them with someone. I'm having a little bit of issues with the sharing, but it should pop right back on, you guys. Hopefully you can still hear me. Sorry about that. Sometimes this screen sharing is a little bit funky. What's going on, Nick? Are we off? Are we on? Can you guys hear me? I'm so sorry about that little hiccup there. Um, Somebody in chat that you can hear me because it's kind of flashing on my end that I might not be with you guys. Okay, great. I don't know, that was weird. On my side, it popped off for a minute. Okay, so then this whole point of this slide is I want you guys to know that revisiting your goals isn't soft work that maybe you heard in a workshop one time and you thought it was not actually the work of achieving big goals. More so, it actually is a high performance strategy because it is a numbers changer. It changes the success rate of people who make it and people who don't. And so I want you guys to think about like knowing what your goals are, having them written down somewhere and sharing them with someone. It doesn't have to be with the whole community, even just one person or your partner or what have you. That is actually a high performance strategy move. Okay. So now that's why I wanted to have this moment here today at the end of the first half of the year to remind us all of where we're at and what we're going for. Because it was never. And with your goals, I want us to think about how it's not exactly about the P&L. I think that P&L, I've said this in a lot of different psychology labs because it applies to so much. But P&L is a lagging indicator. So the dollar amount is a lagging indicator of the growth that you will make in this role of trading. So let's all think back to January if we could. Like, what did you really want from this trading year? So for me, it's always going to be the consistent profitability, but consistent first, like consistent to my process, tuning out the noise, trusting in myself, believing in myself. And that can look like any kind of way that you can write it down that speaks to who you are. You want to say it in a language that is how you would speak to yourself in a positive, uplifting, supporting, encouraging way. I actually recorded my goals on multiple different fronts of my life. And it's about a 7-minute recording of how and why and what actual goals I want to achieve and what that looks like. And I have it on my phone and I listen to it in the evenings a lot of the time. And so it's not exactly the same as writing it down, but it fits with my life because I can just put it in my ears when I'm brushing my teeth and washing my face. And it reminds me of who I want to be every day. And so that's one way that I have done this. But like, what did you guys have for goals? So here's some examples. Consistency. So showing up for a process day after day, even when it's hard, even when you're in a winning streak and you're kind of nervous, showing up regardless of the outcomes to just say, I am determined to be a trader. So I want to keep working at it every day, day after day, because that consistency is a big deal. And so if that isn't a part of your goals so far, I want you to consider putting that into them or rewriting it in a way that consistency to your process and to your goals and who you want to be should be a good part of goals. Also discipline. So discipline gets a little bit of shade out there in the world of like, you have to be disciplined in order to achieve things. And sometimes it's hard, but following your plan, even when your emotions say otherwise, and sticking to your goals and your objective and how you operate as a trader is a big deal. And I would argue that discipline is actually the highest form of self-love because when you say, I really want to achieve this thing, and to get there, I know I have to do X, Y, Z and follow my rules and follow my risk management. When you do that for yourself and you honor your intentions, and then you get to some results that maybe you had struggled to get to before, but it's because you did that discipline, you are rewarding yourself for becoming the person that you dream of by following through with those disciplines. And so I want discipline to not be like a naughty word or an aggressive word or, challenging if you're not good enough or whatever, but instead it's like a positive choice to be a disciplined person and trader. Steady growth is one way that we can manage our goals. We can write out our goals instead of just having it be a P&L, but more so a steady growth in terms of not only that P&L, but building your skill and your confidence and your capital gradually and sustainably. So it doesn't need to be like a straight V-shaped type of situation because those are a little bit tricky because you can get You can mess up your psychology in that if it's not too steady, if it's too rapid, because then, there could be a strong pullback. And so I think a big part of a goal is having that, not only saying I just want to make more and more money every month, but more so I want to continue growing and advancing my skills and feeling more confident in my strategy and fine tuning my playbook just enough so that it really is effective. And then everything kind of follows with that steady gradual growth that you're working for. Miriam, consistent is better than discipline achieved, working on steady growth. Yeah. Okay. See, this slide is resonating with you. This is exactly what my goals look like as well, and how I try to approach my trading, because I would never ever claim to be perfect. I just am very much not perfect. But I do know that I try really hard and I show up every day, and that I aim to continue that 1% better and focus on the lessons if I struggle in a day, and try to continually try to like be my best self. And then also freedom might be something in your goal. So the autonomy to work for yourself and build something that's truly yours, that can come from trading, but it has to come with these other three things behind it. It has to be part of a whole picture. But that's absolutely, I think, a big goal for us as traders, is that freedom in life, and not just necessarily financial freedom. I think in this day and age, obviously finances are important. We have to be able to pay for where we live and where we go. But the freedom to create the life of our dreams is a big deal. And trading is one of very few avenues out there. I mean, so much entrepreneurship, I guess, that you can really dig in and create it and build it and learn more and have a really successful system that you kind of own wholly. So it's pretty amazing. You guys all know Ed Dakota. We've talked about him in many different streams, very famous trader, but every master was once a disaster. The secret is that they kept going, learning from every loss, adjusting after every setback, and trusting that the process would compound over time. So every master was once a disaster, which is so, so, so true. If you talk to anyone who's really made it in their field, in anything, in music and the acting, in industry, in business, they have so many stories of failed businesses, of money lost, of deals gone wrong, of roles lost, of like big musicians. Have you seen some of their like early music videos? They look like crazy children on drugs. It's like insane to see where these people who have really done incredible things, you think that they've just always been amazing. Well, their early work oftentimes is kind of funny, kind of silly, kind of have some ups and downs to it before they really found their footing and became a master. And that's no different for trading. Like there's going to be losses and struggles and tears and breaking stuff, maybe depending on how you let out your emotions when you're still stabilizing. But you can persevere is the whole point of that. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you're here with us, Miriam. So every loss carries a lesson, and every setback is a signal, not a sentence to failure. Every time that you take another lesson day, if you are still taking lesson days, because I mean, I'm a 5-year trader and I still take lesson days. They're not a sentence that you're feeling. Instead, they're just feedback. They are giving you information of areas that you get to continue growing in. And that is a privilege, to continue to grow in an area that we love. And so reframing that so that it's a positive part of our trajectory is so stabilizing in terms of mental capacity to withstand it all. The traders who grow aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who stay curious, stay honest with themselves, keep showing up. Progress in trading, like any craft, is built one decision at a time. And so what I mean by the one decision at a time is that you do have to make a decision to continue to get up in the morning, to show up, to come to psychology labs like this, to things that you believe and have felt make you a better trader, to follow rules that you recognize protect your accounts, even though in the moment you might want to argue with them and fight with the situation. But if you know that certain rules, such as the daily loss limit or certain entry criteria, otherwise you can't get into a trade, if you follow those and you know that they're what's better for you, that is decisions to invest in who your best self is. And those decisions create a disciplined person who can be more consistent. That makes sense. So I do want us to look at how far we've come. So our mindset, have you grown more patient, more self-aware, more able to sit with uncertainty? Because in trading, every time you get in a trade, every time you're considering a trade, there's uncertainty. There's no guarantees in trading at all that it is sustainable, that when you make the best trade possible, it looks like an A+ setup, that it's going to work out. There's no certainty with it. And if you are getting better at appreciating the fact that the market is abundant and sometimes you will lose and sometimes you have to sit on your hands, and if it doesn't give you exactly what you need to see, then you really shouldn't be in that trade. And so if this part of your trading journey, this mindset that you have when you are working on your craft, is getting better, then that is a success. That is something that is not as easy to manage, but it's more to measure, but it's more something that you get to feel and experience and know that when we're making these changes and we're more aware, we're catching ourselves earlier. We're catching potentially negative self-talk before it really gets a hold and it can damage our psychology. If you're catching that sooner and are able to get back on the right track with things, that is progress in your mindset, which is a big deal. Like that, no one has the ironclad psychology of a 20-year veteran trader in their first few years, because that's something you have to kind of forge through the fire kind of situation by mismanaging impatience and fear and greed, and recognizing that it sucks when you mismanage those emotions and you give into them. And so then choosing to slowly shift and become the person that is more patient and more willing to accept the losses and more open to the whole bigger picture project of trading. That shift can feel subtle, but what I want to think about today with this 6-month reflection is, can you feel that you're different than who you were in the winter? Like Christmas time, New Year's time, the start of this year, how you want to see your year progress with your mindset. Do you feel more stable in terms of how you are coping with the good, the bad, and the ugly? I think that is something that if you can say yes to that, that is progress. And that is something that is really, really important for traders to be improving on. So give yourself credit for that. Process, yes. So process, has your pre-market prep improved? Your journaling, your approach, your ability to recognize setups and step back from bad ones. So this is the meat and potatoes of trading. This is something that's a little bit more quantifiable. Are you taking your A+ setups when you're at your computer and you're available for them? And are you recognizing if you're making poor trades and cutting them sooner? Are you really consistent with a strong pre-market strategy and approach and schedule, and you're honoring your commitments to potentially meditate or get some physical activity midday and walk away from your office and go for a walk? Has your journaling shifted? Because we've been talking about journaling. I know Breezy in the evening, the other day I was on and people were asking him about his journaling process, and it was awesome. It was really great content. And we've talked about that as well. I think 2 weeks ago, we talked about methods for backtesting and journaling so that your metrics can shape you. They can give you information about who you are and who you're becoming and where you're going with trading. And then you can start to notice your patterns, your personal patterns of what you're doing better at, what continues to be an issue that you have struggled with. And if that needs to have more effort and emphasis placed on it, that process change is the easier one to measure, and it's a big deal. So meat and potatoes, right? I mean, that's the core. That's an old saying. I mean, we have more salad these days, but that is the core part of the logistics of what you're doing on your charts. Are you executing on your A+? Are you drawing your levels and feeling fully prepared for your session, as you know is best for you generally? Those are things that we do want to make sure that we're tuning into as well. And then resilience is kind of a different one than mindset, because kind of a comeback story. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of traders who are more experienced and are farther in their career paths maybe don't have to work at this as hard. But if you're in your first few years of trading, this is absolutely a key part of your journey that requires like dedicated attention. So when you're facing drawdowns or a choppy market or self-doubt, you're still here. And so that is a choice, and that is the right one. So when you have a setback, then you need to be able to kind of pull yourself through it and recognize that it is a drawdown and you are a human, and the markets will shift there. If the market is in a condition that is not favoring your edge, such as when it is kind of sideways or really bearish, if it doesn't favor who you are as a trader, then that is a sign that you are not feeling it right then. And you need to have some resilience with like backing up and not giving into the self-doubt and believing that holding steady and maybe leveraging down through those periods is a way to still grow and persevere and kind of focus on the lessons and refining your system. And maybe something's going on in your personal life that you're just not feeling as mentally sharp, and that's a factor. And so you want to deal with that and then come back stronger. Those are ways to feed into being a more resilient trader, which will help you push through to, the promised land of being more consistently successful, where you don't have to place as much energy on resilience as much because you're not faced with those personal drawdowns as often. But when you are still experiencing them more often than anyone really prefers, then that's when you want to make sure you're kind of like doing your best to weather them quickly, to shut down the negative feelings faster, and to lean into what is helping you be stronger. Having some success has caused me to overtrade occasionally. Yeah, that's a great one that I think is so common, is that when you start to notice you're doing better, you're feeling calmer, you're seeing the setups faster, you're starting to have really good days. It does create an energy for traders. It does make you want to like do more, to capitalize more, to maybe start to leverage a little bit higher, or to take more trades because you just feel like everything you touch is like working out, because you're starting to get more in sync and more in tune with the market. And there's an intuition behind trading, I think, that you can kind of start to feel it better. But that does sometimes lead to over trading or leveraging faster than you intended. So that's great that you have that awareness, Michael, because I think that awareness on your certain behaviors is how you manage them. By recognizing that I am trading more than I was before, and sometimes I'm green in the morning and I'm trying to give it back by over trading and continuing to engage. That is personal data that you want to recognize that you're experiencing, and then do something about and try to manage it to the best of your ability, and stay steady throughout that. So maybe that's one thing that you are doing better with than January. What do you guys say? I know Mary is talking about process and consistency is something she's doing better this year. Does anyone else have any examples of something that they are doing better now than in January, when you're thinking about your process, your mindset, your approach, your journaling, you're focusing on your A plus setups? I think I think that live streaming kind of threw me for a bit of a loop, honestly, this last year. Taking trades on stream and like just being more public with my trading, where I hadn't really done that before Blue Sky. And so for me, I had to face periods where I would have a losing day or trade it, because I am not a perfect trader. Then that was like an experience of like, that hit harder when you know that what if you influence another person's trade, like that would make me feel some kind of way. And so I've had to like really put a lot of emphasis on all the angles of that, of like, I really need to drill into being super consistent with my process. And then I also need to, you know, let some of it go, because I can't go back and change it. And so to sit in like irritation and wishing it had gone a different way is not helpful either. And so like that's something that I am personally had to have more resilience with, and a mindset shift and some growth and some process adjustment. So I think that this is a moment in time to think about where we've come and where we want to go. Process is better. Awesome, Mary. So this is where I just want you guys to spend a minute, and that's why I started on the last slide. But like, think about your honest inventory of where you're at, what you're doing good, what you want to improve on. These are some different areas that we all could either like lean into and be really excited about, or recognize some attention could be made on the next 6 months, and what you want to think about as we close out the year 2026 in 6 more months. What would you be happy that you made some more progress on? Because right now you're recognizing maybe you've made some progress, but not enough. It's still creeping up more than you would like. Something like a habit that you don't enjoy, such as over trading, or getting stuck at your screen and then mismanaging trades in the midday session, or allowing emotions to trading when you're emotional. If you're anxious or worried about some other kind of thing and letting that play over into your charts, is that something that you still need to work on and put something in place so that you can let it go sooner? Adjust and release things that are not working, and lean into the profitable choices that are working for you. So routines that you recognize: when I do XYZ in my pre-market, I feel so much steadier and I tend to execute better. So that is a plus sign, right, on your personal, inventory of what you've done so far this year. So try and continue to make that a priority. Also, something else might be something that you notice you're doing and it's really not helping. So that one needs to be like, I need to cut that more, or shift it and do it a slightly differently so that it is beneficial for me. Oops. Because I think that real growth does come from honest reflection, not just celebrating wins, but recognizing how you need to grow and change and improve over time. I think processing these things is really valuable, because it reminds us where we're going, how far we've come. Tina, I shrug off losses better than I used to. Not as hard on myself than she used to be. Part of trading. Good. I love that. That is the mindset work of like recognizing that you don't have to be perfect to be profitable, and holding on to negativity will cause more damage than it does any sort of good. Like a lesson day needs to be a lesson day. And then we got to let it go so that we can continue to progress with who we want to be, because you can't, like I said, you can't go back. None of us can go back and take back a trade that we wish we hadn't have monkeyed around in. That's just not the way that it works. So let's do eyes right ahead. Like I think that there's lessons that we get to take in our journey. I think that we can take those lessons and we can make them matter, like write them down, journal them out, and then move forward. And so quarters 3 and 4 are still in front of us. They are unwritten. We have 6 months left in this year. Of course, we have like many years, right? We're all young. We have plenty of our career left. But at certain times throughout the year, at the start of the year, halfway through, and of quarters, what have you, is a time to purposefully choose to reflect. Because this time on our goals, how far we've come, what we enjoy about what we're doing, and what we want to improve on is a big deal. And so I want us to kind of reset, to take this moment to appreciate how far we've come and recognize that there's so much more opportunity in front of us. What's up, Coach Matt? Welcome in. So set your intentions with clarity. And I think that by taking this time, I'm slowing us down as I'm prompting you guys to think about how far you've come this year, because I think recognizing for each of us what we have done well and what we know when I'm saying these things, there's probably something coming up in your mind that's irritating you, that is you wish you had done better in the first 6 months of this year, and that you recognize is something in your awareness that ideally could be better. And so I want you to put some intentions on that, to have some clarity around maybe this is the time that you pull back up your goals that you wrote down for this year. You recognize what you're really on track with and what really hasn't moved the dial much at all, or, potentially slid back a little bit, and kind of double down, like use some clarity on that, on what you want to, how you want to shift, how you want to move forward, and recognizing that, that the trader that you want to be, like if we can use the visualization tool that I mentioned a couple of times about who we want to be in 10 more years, when we are really at our peak and doing very well, we are the trader who we want to be. We are acting as that trader. We have the capital behind us. We take the trades. We believe in them. We layer in, we layer out. We're really handling our trading. Who is that trader? And then work backwards from there. And recognize that trader, if you can see him or her in your mind and you know what they look like, how they behave, what they trade, what that looks like, what their outcomes are, how they choose to spend their free time, roll that back to who you would be now if you are still building that person. What choices does that person make? What are their goals? What do they work to achieve? What is up, Ace? Thanks for getting in here. That trader gets to be your future. Like that, it is in the realm of possibilities, of course, because look at you. You already are showing up for trading psychology classes, for the market, for a strong community, because that's what's driving you. And so what does that trader need to prioritize for the next 6 months? How should your goals be modified so that you are trading like that person, like that excellent trader that you know is your future, that is building the life of your dreams with the travel and the house and whatever it is for you that you want to grow and create. Trade like that now. And if that needs some adjustment on your goals and your behaviors, write them down, modify your strategy, ask questions to any coach about your strategy and your playbook. Modify your goals so that way when you write them down and you adjust them, you say, this is who I need to be. It makes it more real. Like we talked about the neuroscientific studies that have shown that when you write your goals down, you are 2 to 3x more likely to succeed in them. So take this time to actually do it. Okay. So Mark Twain, the secret of getting ahead is getting started. I know that there's a lot of things out there that we say that people should do, blah, blah, blah. I do think that doing little exercises here and there that are beyond just studying the charts and putting trades on makes a difference over time. And so I think it's worth the effort. Now, after we talked about how we want to make sure we are on point with our goals moving forward, I also want to encourage you guys to be courageous. So not like just crazy out of the town, just throw in like full port on every trade all the time. Not that kind of courageous, but more like believing in yourself and then acting on that belief. So for your life, for your career, for your trading, for your personal relationships, what is it? Like go all in on you. And so I think that that can look different for different people, and everyone's going to approach that a little bit different based on how you feel about things. But I think that if you can believe in yourself and then act as the trader who gets the goals that you want in years to come, then you have to start acting as that person now. And that does take some courage and some faith over fear. And I think that that will help us kind of write our goals on where we want to continue for the second half of this year, and then believe in them and execute on them. And you can't be a profitable trader without executing. You just can't reward without risking. And so that part of where we're going, especially as traders, means you have to have courage and faith in order to do it. Now, I'm not encouraging anyone to go outside of their level so far, their ability to understand the market, the leverage that they should take, the account sizes that they should trade. But I do want you guys to, I want us all, and myself included, to believe in ourselves. Now, there's a couple different ways to approach this. And I think that it's playing it small versus chasing opportunity. So, trading out of fear of losing, avoiding setups because you're worried about being wrong, letting doubt override your edge, hesitating when you see your A plus setup, waiting for perfect conditions that never come. There are ways that we hold ourselves back. And I think each of us is going to be slightly different with what that looks like, what our inhibitions are. Will we fail to take a stop because if a stop out means it didn't work or whatever? You skip your setup because you haven't got quite enough information and you're nervous it won't work, even though statistically and per your edge, it has a high probability of success. Being really hesitant with that or fearful will be a slower trajectory of growth. And there'll be a lot more lesson days and it could, not quite get you there. But if you instead try and reframe it as I am learning and growing and I have setups and I have a playbook, especially if you're at the point where you actually do. If you're not, you want to back it up just a little bit and focus on making sure you have a really strong strategy first and reaching out and asking questions on that. But once you have a strong strategy, I think there's a lot of momentum in chasing the opportunity. So trading your plan with conviction and believing in it and letting it play out a little bit and taking calculated, courageous entries. Trusting your preparation. So knowing that you did write a strong playbook, that you are really prepared and you're ready for your day. You've done your pre-market routine. You are with a good crew. You have a good hypothesis written out for what day you might experience. And then believing that your edge plays out over time. And so recognizing that when I am consistent to my practice and I have back tested it, this has a such and such win rate, a 60% win rate, what have you. And if I get my really good setups, that I need to trade them. And so that's kind of there's so much opportunity, right? It's believing in yourself. It's chasing the fact that the market is abundant, and just because one doesn't nail it, one trade doesn't win, there's more opportunity that comes, and each trade needs to be treated kind of standalone. New data will come, new opportunities will present, new entry criteria will expose themselves throughout the day. And then you want to hunt that opportunity and do your best to capitalize on it. And that is how you can really kind of believe in yourself and put some energy behind recognizing that you have a strong system and you're going somewhere, and there is so much opportunity in the world of trading. They are similar, but they're a little bit different. I think to build a stronger career, you have to execute on it. And the more that you execute on it, you recognize there is opportunity. You can start seeing other markets and slowly building up your leverage. Now, this is not me trying to say just throw caution to the wind and go for it, but rather to believe in yourself and to recognize that there's so much opportunity in the market and so much potential to really do great things for ourselves. And I want that for all of us. I think that we are all worthy of our greatest goals. And by pursuing them actively, that's how we make things happen, I don't know, maybe someone's willing to answer this question. Which side have you been living on more this year? More of a hesitant, kind of trying to be cautious and careful and a little bit letting it take its time? Or are you kind of chasing the opportunity and going for it and getting the accounts and building it and trading your size? I think I've had some of both, honestly. I think I have pulled back a little bit here and there when certain things have intimidated me, and I've had to kind of be aware, focus on awareness on that, and recognize that I still get to push forward. And if I'm in a certain place and in a role and in an opportunity, then that means maybe I was meant to be there. Then I have grown into the person who is ready for that. And so then to choose to, believe in that energy. And I think that will be slightly different for all of us because our lives are all slightly different. But if you are in a room, if you see a trade, if you have an understanding, then you have built to built yourself to become the person that can see that can understand that opportunity. And so in that situation, you kind of want to lean in. You kind of want to go for it, because the people who have the biggest lives are not the ones who kept it small forever. They're the ones who felt the momentum behind them and leaned into the momentum a little bit and built the thing you're dreaming of, took the trades that you felt like you understood, took them with full size. If it's your A+ setup and you didn't see any real, any outsized risk against it, you felt really good about a trade, then you go for it, kind of thing. If that makes sense. Now, this is a quote that you hear everywhere. I don't know who the original author is, but you can have excuses or you can have results, but you can't have both. So that's kind of the same thing of like, what you doing with your trade plan? Are you really behind it? Are you honoring your risk? Are you honoring your opportunity? Are you going for your biggest goals? Courage in trading doesn't mean recklessness. It means showing up for your setups, trusting your system, refusing to let fear write your trading story. And so that's what I'm kind of trying to say too, is it's not a recklessness, but it's more so like when you see your best setups, what does that look like? And can you trade them? Like if they are your good setups, like do you go for it? Are you building trust in yourself? Are you saying with confidence that when I see XYZ, then I'm going to do this, and my strategy is this. This is how I get in. This is how I manage it. This is what I do to try and get to my outcomes based on my statistics of a win rate. And so every time you trust yourself and you do as you intend to do on the charts, then you build a real confidence that you can rely on, that will hold you up in hard times, because it's built on personal data and choices that you make, instead of kind of letting fear be involved in how you're managing your trades, your opportunities, your risk, all of that. I do think that prop funding companies, did I do that right? Yeah. I do think the prop funding companies have given us a unique opportunity that was not there before, where you get to trade with someone else's capital. And so I would say this is an advantage of being a prop funding company, and here at us with BluSky. Michael, not fear, but trying to have control so I don't give back wins. Yeah, it's a fine line. And so I would encourage you to not think that I'm saying like just go for everything that moves. Definitely not. But more so, make sure that when you see good opportunity, you are still treating each trade as an independent opportunity and not have that recency bias of like my last trade lost, so now I'm going to really lock it in. More so of if the strategically planned opportunity is there, whether your last trade won or lost, could be a good trade. And so what do you do in that situation if it's a trade that is within your policy, And so, but that's something that takes time, because we all have a little bit of like loss aversion, especially when you're winning, because you don't want to start giving it back. So that's a very real experience to kind of have awareness on and work through in real time as you're experiencing it. Because if you did have a win or a loss and you're feeling protective of your account afterwards, but you see a good setup, review it at the end of the day, whether you took it or you didn't take it. If you didn't take it, think about, was it a good opportunity and maybe you should have, or did it prove to not be? And maybe your hesitation was due to some more data, and kind of dig into it. Use that data as an opportunity to learn whether you took it or you didn't take it. But with prop funding companies, I think that there is protection here because your risk is kind of managed. The prop funding company is a structure that protects your personal capital. So the downside is really quite defined. You lose your fees and you lose some time because you have to restart. But you can trade with a little bit more courage than in previous years when prop funding companies weren't there, because it was your only money. It was all your own, like you would move money from your savings or what have you into an account and you would trade with that money. And so if you lost $1,000, you lost $1,000 versus now, if you lose, say the 50K account, you lose 2,000, 2.5, your account is blown. Well, you lose your fee and you lose the time that you invested in that account. And so I would argue that if you are careful, that is, you're not just buying a ton of accounts and just blowing through them like crazy, but if you're really intentional, recognize that you can kind of lean in and have that faith, because the worst case scenario is fee and, a few days of trading time. And so that is kind of an opportunity. It's kind of a beautiful opportunity to have the space to build without massive downside. Is, guess what I'm saying? Like if you're just trading a couple of evals and then a funded account and one eval, and you're letting it grow intentionally over time as your skill develops, then your downside really is managed and your upside is unlimited, right? With funded accounts and scaling plans, your potential growth, they just keep allowing you to take payouts and you can grow them bigger and you can go to the live accounts and you can get larger accounts and larger payouts. And it all kind of evolves in a beautiful way. So there's not a cap on your upside with these programs. And so then you want to kind of have the opportunity to recognize that you can have some courage with your approach. Now, I'm not like, don't blow your accounts for nothing. Like, don't pretend like they're nothing because you want to foster good habits throughout it. But I'm arguing that this could be an opportunity where you can foster the habit of having courage with each trade and full belief in your system and having some skin in the game and taking trades, even with just a couple of micros. So that way you can start to feel them out and grow your trade system and your strategy with more strength. You can progress, you can grow faster by taking the trades and then knowing that worst case is defined, best case is unlimited, and every single trade you take ideally is teaching you and you're getting opportunity and skin in the game and you're learning and growing. And then also BluSky is an advantage because honestly, we have a great community. There's coaches here that are pretty solid. We have a structure. There's Mike in the mornings, bangers every day. Like he's really solid. And so, just show up and use them and ask questions and challenge us and, say your feedback and your experience. And we can kick it back and forth and see how we can grow and evolve together. And I think that that is a true advantage, honestly, that never used to be. I think trading used to be done in literal physical spaces. And so you'd have a team there. But when retail trading started, there was so much isolation with that, where people were alone in their offices. There wasn't that big connected communities. But right now we do get to have a strong community and accessible mentors and an opportunity to ask questions from coaches. And so, use this opportunity that is presented in your trading goal, in your trading world to reach for those bigger goals, I would say. Now, who knows the term YOLO? You only live once. I lean into that as a human. I'm a little bit of like a YOLO type of person where I'm like, I think that you do have to risk to reward. I think you have to push yourself. I think you have to have faith in yourself and like try things out. And it doesn't work out. Most of the things are relatively safe that we choose to engage in terms of like life and safety and our family safety. And, I think there are ways to engage in financial risks such as trading and still keep our home and our nest eggs and stuff safe by using prop funding companies or by having certain capital allocation, having lockout tools so you can't lose a large amount in one day. But the future is not promised, like people get sick, people get cancer, people have accidents. Like we have this time right now. Like we have this life, this experience, this opportunity, this community, this knowledge, this base of understanding and goals. And so like we could go for it. It doesn't mean that we need to over leverage and ignore rules. It doesn't mean we just need to throw contracts around like they're nothing. But it more so means that we don't have to sit on the sidelines of our potential. So if there's opportunity, if there's educators, if there's programs that are interesting that you think can grow you, if there is something that you think you could work for you as a trader and you don't fully understand it, like ask questions of that mentor. Lean in, and it doesn't necessarily have to be throwing big old trades on the chart, but more so believe in yourself and ask the questions and send a DM to someone who you're not sure if they'll answer, but you have questions for them, and kind of put yourself out there in terms of like learning and growing and evolving and hoping you can do more and then waiting to see how it actually plays out in real time, but believing in yourself that you can create a wonderful life. You can actively cultivate and protect momentum forward. And we get to have that momentum behind ourselves when we really kind of dig in and believe in it. So, and I do love this Warren Buffett quote, risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. And so I think the deeper you get into trading, the more you learn and grow and refine your strategy and your playbook, and you have back tested and you do feel really good about your entry and exit criteria, then summertime, sorry, a little kiddo interruption. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing, right? And so once you start knowing what you're doing, then your risk is lessened because you have a stronger understanding, you have a stronger playbook. You can trade more effectively without as much fear around what opportunities you're getting yourself into. So I want to encourage us all to kind of know what we're doing. Now, you never know, but you can have a strong strategy and a system that you really believe in. And if you can learn and have a strong strategy, then we get to take the trade. You get to put risk on. You get to chance risk and chance reward and go for things, So courage, a little bit what I'm talking about right now, it's a daily practice. And it doesn't mean you're just, like I said, throwing contracts around, but more so it's you set your intention for your day, you review your plan, you remind yourself of your goals regularly, and you kind of are laser focused in on what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you want to show up to the best of your ability, what you have learned creates your best outcomes. And so like a pre-market routine, you study your levels, you think about what a setup might look like, and then you prepare like a professional where you feel ready, you know what it would look like to get you into a trade, you know what it would look like to not get into a trade because it wouldn't be showing you what you need for a certain setup. That is how you can kind of get your mind right and dialed into what you need to see and how it would look and feel in order to execute profitably. And then during your trading session, this is where you get to trust your edge and you execute with discipline, with the size that you intended on based on your accounts and your trade setup and where it's at, what your risk needs to be based on how you can get your entry. And then you let your process work and play out and grow. And then at the end of the day, you journal honestly. You celebrate your consistency. You adjust what needs to be adjusted as you grow and evolve. And I think that this is a recipe for being a courageous trader, by being all in, by treating it as a profession, by treating it as an entrepreneurial business, which is what day trading can be, is an entrepreneurial business. And so you have to protect your capital, you have to follow the rules, you have to pay your taxes, you have to do all the things that traders in that space do in order to get to that professional status and the P&L that comes with it. And so courage isn't a feeling that you wait for, more so, but it's a habit that you build one trading session at a time. You believe in who you are becoming and what habits are creating the outcomes that you most want. And then you are executing them one training session at a time. And every time that you really dial in this, what's on screen right here, and you have a really solid trading day because you did all of the things, or you took a lesson and your account is safe and it's reasonably locked out. Those are days that grow you into the professional trader of 10 years from now that you are creating right now. So, what can we commit to for the next half of the year? I will trade my plan, not my emotions. I will review my goals weekly, not just in January, which I encourage you guys. So when you do a weekly review, think about your goals and what you did really well in terms of working towards them or not giving them enough attention and effort in your daily choices. I will take courageous, well-reasoned trades. And so taking your trades, seeing your criteria, knowing when you would get in, what it would look like, and then locking in and putting your hat in the ring and seeing what happens. If that is where you feel like you are ready for as a trader. I will trust the process and keep showing up. And I think that's a big part of growing as a trader is just keep showing up. It does not have to be in some kind of fancy way. It doesn't have to be with mini contracts, nor should be for a while until you're really locked in. But it can be that you show up, you do your preparations, and you execute with a reasonable size at your trade setups that you have a good understanding of and you see your entry criteria for. And that is a commitment that generally is the recipe for success. If you have a delineated plan and an understanding and a focus on the prize and the habits that you need to be to become the trader of your future dreams, that's what you just show up for every day. So I do want us to try and remember this energy from today's psychology lab, because I think that when we can focus on who we're trying to be and what we've done well so far, lean into what we've done well and focus on the lessons, and then continue to just execute and be courageous with growing into success as a trader. I think that that's all that we can ask of ourselves. You can't be mad if you're not perfect. Instead, you just have to be a human, because that's the situation. And so as a human retail trader, just remind yourself of these things, what your goals are, how you want to be a trader who's not emotional, and that when you lean into your process, it goes well. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, was a book that was really valuable for me early in my trading career. And I think it's all about mindset of believing in yourself and kind of going for it. And so this quote from him, "Do not wait. The time will never be just right," is valuable because not every trade setup is perfect either. There's always risk and uncertainty with the game of trading. Okay. Frog. It is a great book. Yeah, I love that book. I think I listened to it at least 2 or 3 times over the years. That was an early one in my trading career that someone recommended me towards in terms of like faith in the process when it was still hard and very messy and I didn't know what I was doing. But it's a good book in terms of like if you just show up and you're like you see a potential in a thing and it's messy but you're still working at it, there is so much that you can learn in that period of I don't know what I don't know, but I know that this is a thing that can work out. And so I just want to show up. I want to get in the rooms. I want to ask the questions. I want to start and let it not be perfect, but let that not necessarily scare me away. That is a lot of the energy of that whole book of Think and Grow Rich, because riches come after you really show up for the work and you think about who you're becoming and you grow towards it. And you make decisions that you have studied, that you understand about your trading process and the opportunity of day trading, that get you farther along, that move the metric down the street, in the markets, in life. If we can just kind of be brave and go for it, have that momentum behind us, I think that there really is abundant opportunity in trading. I think that the futures market, options, whatever your jam is, whatever your main thing is, how maybe you're making your futures profits and you're putting it into an investment account and you're diversifying and growing. And there's just so much opportunity, and you are in the right place here at BluSky and with a good community and with, personal friends that are traders. I know a lot of us have met people online in different trading rooms who have really become very good friends. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason that those people have become available in your life and they're helping to grow and support you. And so, I think for me, thinking about how my personal relationships have shifted, I'm given a little less priority to like mom friends, neighborhood friends. I mean, they're still important to me, but the people who understand my trading pursuits are on another level with me, because that is like such a deep part of my soul now of like how I'm growing my life and my future. And so if you have that as well, lean in and let it all grow. Those people support you and believe in yourself, and let your confidence and courage get up under you. Like they're not supposed to be there right away, but the more that you just try for them, the more they start to recognize that you're not giving up, and you start to get that confidence, and you start to see your setup sooner, and you start to get in on them and experience the trade outcomes more readily. And that really can be incredible. So you guys, you're going to do it? Are you going to do it with me and like revisit your goals from January and think about where you've come, where you want to go, awareness, honest awareness on what you're doing really well and what you want to do better? What do you think? Hogwash or worth it? I think it's worth it. And literal scientific studies say it's worth it. Yes, Tina. Also, happy birthday, Tina. Everybody wish Tina a happy birthday because it was yesterday, but happy birthday. And I'm glad that you spent your day after your birthday hanging out with us. That's dedication. I think that I really do kind of nerd out on this stuff because I think it's good to hear. I think it's good for me to say and for us all to think about who we want to be and how we're growing and what we want to create for ourselves as traders. And I think writing it down, speaking it out loud, thinking about it when we're trying to lay in bed at night, everyone can take this to bed tonight and say, tomorrow is July. Who do I want to be in my next 6 months? What would it look like for this last 6 months of goal achievement and the next 6 months of goal achievement? What am I doing well? And I want to double that this year. What am I still doing that's frustrating me that I want to really cut out? So think about that. Let it keep you up for a few extra minutes tonight. Maybe as you journal it, after you journal it, setting your tensions in your mind and holding those hostage in your head for a few minutes. Let it kind of build up. Yeah, thanks for giving Tina a little love. Okay. Don't leave, you guys. Coach Matt and I are going to be back in just 5 minutes for Power Hour. We're going to see what's going on with the markets, see if we can find any great opportunities to make a little bit more change for our accounts for the end of today. In the last trading session, the last trading hour of June is upon us. So I'm going to take a quick moment and then we'll be back in 5 minutes with Power Hour with Coach Matt and myself. And we will see you guys there. Thank you so much for showing up for Psychology Lab. It is every Tuesday at 2. Technical Lab is on Thursdays and podcast is on Mondays. We got a lot of content throughout the week here at BluSky. And I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me on this lovely Tuesday afternoon. See you guys in a minute.
BluSky TV. This is Power Hour. This is Coach Matt. I got the amazing mindset expert, trader extraordinaire, Coach Becky, with me to navigate Power Hour. And we are long going into Power Hour, and we're going to stay long as you stay above the 15-minute 9 EMA. That's how you catch a trend, in my opinion. There, Becky. How you doing today? First and foremost, and then secondarily, what's your technical read as we come into Power Hour here?
Hey, I am so good. And welcome everyone. Welcome to Power Hour on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. And holy moly bulls, when I looked at the monthly candle last week, end of last week, I was like, oh, it's bearish. That's going to be so interesting. Not anymore. Oh my goodness, the bulls have come with a vengeance these last 2 days. So I am definitely, today I don't know how you can be anything but bullish. So here we just keep marching up. I love your entry. Way to hold it like a boss, Matt.
I made a decision. I was going to go long after a beautiful double bottom cash open. I thought was really good. I usually don't trade the cash open, but had an early morning today. And she's like, we're going to catch this trend here today. And fortunately, do you see how on this test, we had a volatility test against that 15-minute 9 EMA?
Yeah,
But
that's not
I
good.
was right underneath that level. It did spook me a little bit there, Becky. But even here, just, kind of riding that 15-minute 9 EMA, just slowly but surely, continually locking in a little bit here. And you're right, the Bulls have came to play this week, and it's good to see the Bulls come to play this week because it's going through the process of cleaning up some daily charts that are kind of a little bit of an issue for the market recently. Up, down, all around, everywhere, nowhere, simultaneously type scenario on the daily chart. But like we were talking about yesterday in Power Hour, the weekly chart, don't sleep on the weekly chart. The weekly chart is in a constructive high base. You were sitting at supporting that weekly chart to start the week. And the most likely scenario in a high base construct when you're talking about sitting at support is you work back up into the next level of resistance. And so I just have a general philosophy here, Becky, and it's quite frankly not overtly complicated. I just feel like support was going to hold and we were going to go back up to resistance as technical analysis kind of proves out. And so just not wanting to be overcomplicated. I don't think we're going to be breaking out of major levels of resistance this week. I think it's as simple as we started the week at support. We're going to end the week at resistance, and that's how we're going to see it. I do not believe we're going to be breaking out of 7,600 this week, but don't get me wrong. If we do, I'll definitely like it. I just don't think we have the muster this week to be able to do that. So I just think this is a slow crawl back up into 7,600. And when you are looking at the NASDAQ specifically, the NQ contract, which has really been doing some good work in the last couple trading sessions, I would say, reasserting a little bit of that bullish control. And as the NASDAQ is reasserting a little bit of bullish control, you haven't seen other areas of the market give up. And that to me is the sign of a pretty healthy market that is starting to set up. And so, yeah, I just feel like we're at support. We're going to resistance. And that's kind of where I'm targeting here.
Yeah, it really has just been so strong these last couple of days, and even yesterday at market close, we were hovering right around that 38K level on the NQ, and it just would not sink below that. That was a really nice target to the upside that we had all day, and it did not reject. And so that right there is a sign that the bulls were not finished with the push that it was having. It really, I was like, okay, when we pretended to fade it at imbalances at the end, they didn't have nothing. Even at the opportunity, the Bears couldn't get anything. And so, yeah, it was interesting this morning setup with that consolidation at a key level and then a pop. It never really looked back with
Well,
any follow through.
I just felt like the cash open today was such an infinitely better cash open than yesterday in the way I see markets, because I will not trade in a vast, big volatility up down nature. Like those to me, like we saw yesterday at the cash open, scalpers have your fun. Those are great scalping zones. Like, wow, you can catch a lot of things. And I kind of feel like I'm sitting in the back room just going like, you guys are doing some great work. Like, keep on going. Like I just cheer on the scalpers in those environments. But for me, that likes to be a little bit longer term there, I just felt like the cash open today was a pretty legitimate cash open. You were sitting at support, not a lot of volatility. You broke back up, saw the continuation of the saga. And it was I just felt like there was a good cash open there. And obviously there's been a pretty decent trend along the way. And now as we look at it with fresh eyes and you come into the lower time frames here, looking at the 5-minute chart, for example, I think you could like I see this through a bull lens. You're above the 9 EMA, high base going into a breakout. Like there's not a flaw I see there in that chart yet. The only flaw I'd say from a trending perspective is we're dealing with slowing momentum at the top end of the intraday trend. And we don't have to go back into the time that far because we were exactly at this level yesterday. Good bull day, slightly extended, coming into power hour, and then it was a snooze fest
Mhm.
yesterday. It doesn't look like a snooze fest here today.
Yeah.
Like I
More
was saying,
momentum.
look at that. Catch the 9, boom, 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 boom. Continue to rock a little bit here.
Beautiful. Yeah, the Bulls are in charge, man. They did that one like decent fake out, fake down, like an hour and a half into New York today, I think it was. That one that he said made you a little nervous. No, it's been steady. It's been steady climb since.
It has been a steady climb.
Beautiful.
So you gonna take the trade?
I'm out. I'm already out. I don't know. It's like oil and water with me. I swear to God. Longing at the high end of a bull trend. I don't. That's like my kryptonite because I've gotten in so much trouble with fading it. So then I just like it's more of my like I'm gonna cheer on the bulls because it's so long. It's so far. Like if you weren't in, would you get in right now?
I would go above the high of the candle with a very, very partial, basically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love yours. I like if I was in, I would keep riding it, but I'm not anymore. This is great. This is a beautiful day. And I'm so curious what's going to happen tomorrow, too, the next 2 days of this week, as well. It's a very interesting presentation because we've just yesterday and today, really a lot of momentum. And so this is a large weekly candle at the end of Tuesday. And so that is an interesting situation, right? Are we going to get a bullish engulfing on the weekly? That, I mean, it kind of looks like that after has potential for that. And so it'll be super curious for me to see what happens tomorrow to continue the second half of this week. Knowing we have a short week because of the holiday on Friday, I mean, I'm so curious. It'd be great to see how this plays out and how July starts this price action. Yes, and NQ are definitely, doing the same
If
thing now, which is great when they're trading together.
if I were to do anything though, it
Mhm.
would be a tight stop loss underneath the 5-minute 9 EMA, like
Yeah,
because of everything you just said.
yeah,
I would not give it room at all.
yeah,
And the reason is just again, you come out to the daily chart and we're dealing with the exact same thing we were dealing with yesterday. Top
yeah,
of the market, there's a magnet up here, but we're still dealing with that same situation. There's already been a big pump. I don't think you want to chase it too aggressively, but like
yeah.
the edge is to the top side here.
Right.
And you're starting to break out. So I would, it would just I wouldn't give it a lot of room.
Yeah. For me, this isn't a setup that I love because it is so far extended, and I got out. I wasn't in any trade. I was preparing for the psych lab, and so not being in at any sort of a good, meaningful pullback earlier, it's not as appealing for me. But also, I have to fight that you can't fade this market because I'll get your booty handed to you. So I'm gonna cheer. I'm gonna cheer for these bulls that are just handling it.
I wouldn't fade it yet. I understand I don't want to chase after a parabolic move. Totally understand that.
Yeah,
But I definitely would not fade it yet.
yeah,
There's still open air about 30 points until you start working into anything significant from a resistance perspective.
yeah,
Everything that was significant at resistance, it was significant up until 7,500, guys. Once you got above 7,500, there is some open air here. And
mm,
that open air does lead to about 76. And so again, you come out to the longer side of the equation. There's once you got above 75, like that's open air, guys. Like markets are gonna want to build that. And so it's just, yeah, I wouldn't fade it yet, not at all.
Right. Was there anything this week that's gonna be a factor? It looks like, Warsh is gonna speak at a committee meeting tomorrow, and then there's ISM manufacturing PMI tomorrow morning as well, but I don't know that those would, like, be any big inhibition to the bulls.
Um, Warsh tomorrow, I'm very interested in because it's his first
Like, full meeting.
real meeting.
Yeah.
Like the press conference we got was, yeah, he's answering questions, right?
Mhm.
But this is Warsh finally get a chance to give a little bit of a
The
speech,
work.
right? To kind of lay out a little bit of his monetary philosophy. Because like I was telling you about Jay Powell, like we got to the point where you could literally you knew what Jay Powell was having for breakfast on Fed Day. We don't know Kevin Warsh yet. We still don't know Kevin Warsh yet. And so Kevin Warsh, and especially given the fact that the dollar has been pumping recently, pricing in the expectation of interest rate hikes, how does he see that environment? Because he came across as not he didn't believe in the dot plot. And that stood out to me because I don't believe in the dot plot. The dot plot is never accurate, like legitimately never accurate. The dot plot is the expectation of what the Fed is doing 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 2 years from now. Well, there's a billion variables between now and then that changes the landscape with what the Fed's going to do in December. And so I'm very interested in not just tomorrow with Kevin Warsh, but over the next couple months, laser focused on trying to get an understanding of who this dude is. Is he
Mhm.
going to be a hawk? Is it because the market's not acting like he's a hawk? So is he going to be a little bit more hawkish and stay true to those hawkish conservative principles, or and that would include a reduction of the balance sheet. And anytime we go through reductions in the balance sheet, the market goes down to price that in. I don't think the Kevin Warsh wants to mess with the market, let it do what it wants to do. But I am very interested in what Kevin has to say tomorrow, and quite frankly, over the next couple months, trying to figure out who this dude is, because he's going to be in our lives for not just a swing trade here.
Mhm. Yeah, he's, like, establishing his new, like, energy and approach to it all and way of handling things. Like, this is where, like, you get into the meat of it, like, the first big,
Yep.
FOMC meeting, there was all eyes moment, but this is, like, the job, playing out, and we get some pictures, some lens into that. So, yeah, I think there'll be some
And I
attention on it.
and I personally thought there was a massive overreaction to Kevin Warsh's first press conference.
Yeah.
I don't think the market got it right, to be honest with you.
What?
I
The
said
public
that day.
overreacted?
Say again?
What? The public overreacted?
I know, shocking,
Weird.
shocking, shocking. Somebody says one thing, and we just assume it means everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, that never happens in our world any longer there, Becky. We're all analytical, and we take data for what it should be taken as. That's right.
Right.
But to me, I guess my general point is the market was setting at support. If Kevin Warsh gave a speech with the market setting at support on a weekly support level in a high base construct, I'm willing to bet the market would see that through the lens of buy. And if Kevin gives the speech with the market at 7,600, he better really, really impress the market, or the market's going to sell.
Mhm.
So markets react differently to different types of data depending on where it's at relative to support and resistance. And so the closer you get to that catalyst breakout zone at 7,600, you're going to need something more than just a little push, because you come back out to the weekly time frame here, just to give context for that conversation. But you come back out to the weekly time frame here, you've had multiple different attempts to break out of 7,600. That's been the top of the market for the better part of the last month and a half, ever since the earnings environment kind of waited out. And so the market's had good data, negative data. It's had great data. It's had bad data. It's had all the different types of data at 7,600, and we have not seen a sustainable breakout there. And so can Kevin Warsh be the dude that lights that fire and sends the market into the next leg up on the weekly chart, which would be a beautiful, beautiful environment? I don't know. I do openly question it, given the fact that we've seen that song and we haven't seen a breakout yet. So I don't know, but I will tell you this. I don't believe we're breaking out this week. But to answer your question specifically, is there data that can propel that? I would say the labor market on Thursday could do it, especially if it's in a liquid environment. But I would say labor has to miss on Thursday for us to break out of 7,600. If labor misses, we're breaking out of 7,600. And some of you might be, what are you talking about, Matt? How's the market? Labor's going to miss and we're breaking out?
Clarify.
Yeah, labor misses and we break out. That means we're seeing labor weakness, which allows the Fed to alleviate the interest rate conversation and embrace more rate cuts instead of rate hikes. The strength of the economy is one of the issues that is increasing the expectations of interest rate hikes. And so it's the old fashioned good news is bad news, good or bad news is good news. They work both
Yeah.
ways. So
That's such
yeah,
an
I would say labor on Thursday could be
the
that
biggest, yeah.
catalyst.
It's such an interesting dynamic because like it's so true. And I that shocked me the first several times I saw it in the market. It's like, what is happening? This should be a positive thing, or this should be a negative thing, and the market would push higher, like in moments of war, sometimes it goes up and it's like, well, they're in defense stocks and like the companies that are behind it, like it's such a mind F, I think, when you're like learning this whole
Oh,
world of like this doesn't make sense.
it's well, you take those aerospace and defense companies. So we just had a major military war, right? What have those companies done in the last 3 months? They're down, and they're down significantly because they had front run going into it. There's
Mhm.
this old adage in the market, the good news is bad news and bad news is good news dates back to 2008, 2009. That's when the market evolved. That's when the market became less about the economy and more about what the Fed is going to do on the monetary side of the equation, and really impactful on the M2 rate, the balance sheet, everything along those lines. That's good news and bad news. But the buy the rumor, sell the news, that's been going on for hundreds of years.
Yeah. Well, it's a great point about front running these opportunities because, like, if there's hush hush thoughts about this coming or that coming or war potentially happening, a lot of that is traded before it's actually confirmed. And so then when an event actually takes place, it's already the market structure has shifted already, and so then there's could be profit taking in that direction. And so that also is something that doesn't necessarily make sense until you experience it, feel it, and like start to understand it more.
Agreed, agreed, agreed.
Mhm.
Can I tell you how much I love managing off the 15-minute 9 EMA?
Yeah, it's beautiful, man.
I don't get to do it all the time because the environment doesn't allow it all the time, obviously.
Yeah.
But after yesterday's pump and we saw that good open, I was just like, let's not micromanage this one.
Yeah. That's awesome. Strong work.
How's the team doing today, guys? As we kind of navigate Power Hour, are we long? We flat? Because if you're short, you're getting beat up.
How is everyone? What are you guys up to for this Taco Tuesday?
Becky, I'll be right back.
Okay, sounds good. We'll watch these bulls climb. You guys have thoughts about doing your goals for like 6 months? Halfway through the year, which is wild. I feel like it was just winter, and now all of a sudden it's like pool season. So that's weird. It happened fast. Yeah. Okay, cool, Ricky. Yeah, I'm not either. I really gotta like when I'm doing other bits of content, such as like the psychology trading lab, I really kind of switch gears. And then coming out of that into this after it's just been a bull run all day, momentum is down. Like it's for me, it's too late to go long and too early to short. And so that's not my favorite situation. Yeah, slow, steady growth. Love that. Nice work. Appreciate the interaction at the psych lab earlier. Like I do think that those conversations make all this even, the whole work of trading a little bit more sustainable and enjoyable, and we get to change into the profitable traders that we need to be. And so it's not all just strategy. It's more like conversations and how we're approaching it and how our brain is growing and how we're learning to become the trader that can manage the bigger numbers, all that jazz. Ah, nice, Ricky. Perfect. I would carefully observe how my strategy works in bullish momentum. Good. Good job, Miriam. That is important to recognize, on a trending day such as today. How do you manage that? Like Matt is a beautiful example of managing on the 15-minute 9 EMA. Like that's a strategy that he understands inside and out and could trade it in his sleep. And so having that be a part of your playbook, if it's just that or if it's something a little bit different, but like getting good at managing trending days when they present is so much opportunity with that. And so yeah, observing, awareness, seeing what works, seeing when it gets potentially like on the 5 minute would get you taken out, but the 15 would hold. That kind of data is really helpful, pushing forward.
Yeah, for me, it's very simple on the management side. If I'm trying to capture something from a level to level perspective, I'm typically managing off the 5 minute 9 EMA. And if my intention is to try to capture more than a level to level, i.e., think more from a trending perspective, and everybody's going to be a little bit different, but to catch a trend, you got to set through a pullback. And to set through a 5 minute pullback, you have to be managing on the 15-minute 9 EMA to set through that pullback. And so it just like I love those two for me. It's obviously everybody's got their way of going about it, but like to me, managing the 15-minute 9 is the best way that I can describe how to capture a trend and set through a pullback, because setting through a pullback is the hardest part of capturing a trend, especially as a trader when you're like, I know this is going to come down for the next 2 bars. I know it's going to test. I know it's coming back down to support. And you're like, well, why don't I just get out right now and get back in when it gets at support? And so the trader's mindset is one to constantly get out at resistance, not even set through the pullback. But if you want to set through a pullback and carry a trend, like to me, it's the difference between swing trading and position trading. If you're trying to capture a trend as a swing trader, you're never going to be able to do that because the way you manage your stop loss as a swing trader. So swing traders are literally level to level just on the daily time frame, whereas position traders will sit through a daily pullback because they're managing typically on the weekly chart. It's no different when you're talking about people that are trading the 2 minute versus the 5 minute versus the 15 minute. So everybody's going to be a little bit different on that. But I personally, I love the 15-minute 9 EMA. I love the 5-minute 9 EMA. It helps me make those decisions in terms of management, whether you're in a trade or not. And so, or when you're in a trade or whether you're trying to capture a trend. And the reality is, like I was talking about early in the session, if you're trying to capture a trend like I was trying to do earlier in the session, that 15-minute 9 EMA really stands out. As we're coming into power hour, you're not trying to capture any trend here in power hour. Like the trend had already happened. This is
Mhm.
now kind of the last bit of it. And so I would definitely prefer being on a shorter time frame here if I was looking at it with fresh eyes.
Yeah, great point. Nice, good example of how you explain that too, because that means that you've thought about it, you've traded it, you've experienced it, you've thought about what your opportunity is in this trade, what time frame we're at, how much time is left in the day, how far has the move already happened. And so these are thoughts that you had way before today's session or this year as a trader. And so it comes more naturally and you don't have to think about it as much. And so that's the goal. Like
Well,
even like driving a car, right? Like when you're 15 and 16, everything scares you and you micromanage every single move of your pinky. But
yeah.
now it's like, shoot, we aren't even paying attention. We're in a car till we're at our destination.
Yeah, I would say thoughts is probably too strong of a word. I didn't have to do a lot of thinking on that one. It's more just the
Yeah,
application side of the equation, but that's what
exactly.
happens when you have a deep understanding of your systems, number 1, but when you don't have to think about if your education skill matches what you're trying to do from a trading perspective. There's the education and application, and when you're in the application side of the equation, you need to apply your systems, and if you have to think about things too much, you probably need more education, quite frankly.
Yeah. An experience. If you think you have it and you've written it down and you have a strategy, it could be that strategy is gold, but you're just not comfortable with it because you've only executed it 20 times. And so, give it another
Experience
100
only
times.
matters if you have somebody with more experience than you tell you what you're doing right and wrong, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, there can be negative experiences, same way there's positive experiences. How you are able to interpret that is will change the experience, quite frankly.
Yeah. If you can extract the lesson.
Mhm.
Mhm.
which I have found is hard when you're talking about yourself.
Yeah, and if you let your ego or your emotions be involved, then it can be more challenging.
Mhm.
Mhm.
This thing's just a meandering.
Yeah, this is a slow crawl. It's getting towards we got 32 minutes left, so we're not a ton of time left in this session today.
No, I'm not gonna do anything new. I'm just letting this one play out.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. For sure.
Although I am thinking about at this point in the stage, not managing on the 15-minute and just slapping against the 5-minute.
Yeah. It's
Well,
in a little bit of a 5-minute pullback now, so
you
you
don't
see
have
what
time to sit through a 15-minute pullback and to get back up. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, decision made.
Mhm. Right?
I wanna get that body, so
Solid win,
slowly
man.
but surely.
Beautiful all day hold.
But the reason I adjusted their team is, again, we got 30 minutes left in the trading session. I don't wanna sit through a 5-minute pullback because then that would take another 15, 20 minutes just to get back up there. So, I kinda wanna get stomped out, to be honest.
Yeah, lock it in.
There we go. Now I'm fresh. Now we can do something different. Let's take a look at the NQ now. Mm,
Pretty similar pattern.
pretty similar there. Look at GC. Yeah, nasty support test here. By the way, GC is back to underperforming the ES. I only got 2 days to think about how awesome gold was, and now it's back to underperforming the ES.
Come on.
Okay. Thank you, gold.
Maybe this summer.
Uh,
Maybe she's waiting for July. Maybe she's the Cancer love
maybe
summer.
maybe they're when the babies go back to school August trade is they
It
might
could
be
be.
that.
Mhm, mhm.
Listen, I'm gonna be patient on gold,
Last
but
summer and fall were gorgeous. So when did that rally really kickstart? Was that summertime? Or
um
it was just kept pushing all last year?
I'm trying to think about seasonality in gold.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there's a massive impact to seasonality in gold.
Yeah.
I mean, I get what you're saying. By the way,
There's a trend
just
there, huh?
technique number 1 team, I can't shut down the technical education here. When you are at a level and you have ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bars into that level, do you really think it's gonna run another 8 bars to the downside without a secondary pattern? Absolutely not. This is what is called an overextended breakout. Another way to visually look at that is when you look at the distance between, and one of the reasons I love the 9 EMA is because when you look at the distance between these two, it's not gonna live like that. Where else does it live like that on the chart? What historical chart allows this to live that far above or below the 9 EMA without a secondary? It just doesn't do it. So
Mhm.
when you're overextended going into the breakdown, do not chase that breakdown. Wait for the base, wait for the 9 EMA to catch up, and then structure the trade around the low base here, which it's either going to flag to the 9 or it's going to base the next 2 bars before it breaks down, most likely.
Mhm.
I don't like saying those things on gold, by the way, but I care about the traders.
It's good. You're a good human. It's a good review. Don't chase an overextension because usually there is a moment. There's a pause at a minimum.
Yeah.
Usually a little bounce. It's a good look for a little bit of a counter move here on gold at the end here, a little bulls.
Yeah, I'd be so surprised if I did anything on the ES coming into the close. NQ, I think you like the NQ a little bit more if you're coming into the close. It's holding up just slightly better than the ES is.
Yeah, seems a little bit of a bigger move.
And then GC, yeah, little bit of flag, starting point flag. Be a bear flag, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But if the next bar is red, that's a low base. So flag up here, low base down here. Since we're flat on ES and NQ, we're going to watch this one play out a little bit.
Yeah, let's see what she does. I like it. Give a little pop. See if crude oil is doing anything fancy. Real sideways this last week. Potentially trying to hold up here though. I wonder if crude oil is one that goes for VWAP. I haven't studied it enough, but it's kind of creeping back towards VWAP on the day today.
On which one?
Crude oil.
Yeah. Crude oil the last 5 days kind of boring me to sleep.
So sideways.
It's shocking with the escalation, de-escalation, and the market's like, we're just not pricing in anything anymore.
We're done. We're done with
Like,
that.
we're just done.
Mhm.
We're going to peg oil to 70 for the next 2 years. We're done.
Could be. Could be. Hmm. We'll see. We'll see if she does anything fancy. Be interesting to put a channel on this gold chart on the 4-hour chart and see if we can do a breakout. Put some trend lines on it.
See, now you got low base construction here. Simple consolidation so far. 9 EMA's creeping.
Looks good.
Becky, I'm sorry, but I gotta be gone for about 1 minute.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just playing with my crude oil chart. Honestly, there's a little bit of like a wedge triangle-ish on this. So we'll see. We'll see if it pops up here. It's kind of symmetrical at this point on the 4-hour I'm looking. So that's an interesting potential development. I don't watch it as much as I could, but interesting. Yeah, gold eye. It could be a bear flag. It could be dropping here. Could take out the low on gold, which is the last pivot low is at 435, 4,035. We're kind of creeping at it here. But it might be good if it gets back up to that breakdown level. This is looking gold. It's dabbling here. It's thinking about doing that push up. A tweener. We'll see. The longer it hesitates, the more also the 90 EMA just catches up because then it like bases out, flags out. Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
If you consolidate very tight, it gives me a lot of confidence because you're taking what I would call a cheap risk trade, where you can basically play the pattern. You have entry underneath the low of the pattern, you have the stop above the high of the pattern, and the hope is that 90 EMA converges to force the price action, which would also allow your stop loss to start above the 90 EMA, since we're obviously talking about a low base breakdown here.
Nice.
By the way, bases and flags, two most popular technical patterns in the market.
Makes sense.
'Cause
Yeah, it's basically consolidation after a move and then see what happens after that and how to play it.
it's the momentum patterns, and so they happen a lot.
Mhm. And they could even last for days. I mean, if you the market is fractal, right? Something that can happen on the 5-minute chart also happens on the 15, the hourly, and the daily. So, I mean, always kind of factor in. Hmm. And that was something that was a helpful premise, I guess, for me to understand earlier in my career as well, that the market is fractal and that um, you know, patterns that you may hunt on your smaller time frame execution charts, think about them, like zoom out and take some time each week to look at the larger time frames and see if there's any patterns on the monthly, weekly, daily that could be playing out. And that can give you a directional bias on what you're seeing on the larger time frames that can help you be more precise and have a good or better understanding of the smaller time frames. And so kind of a good that there's a lot of different rationale on why we say, zoom out and look left and think about the bigger time frames and those patterns that you understand, the W's and stuff, they can be present on the daily, and that can be really good information.
Oh, you should always have the context of the bigger time frames, always.
Yeah.
Like, you have more confidence in gold on a short as a day trader, and I'm just talking about in general, but because the daily, the weekly, the monthly are all in some degree of bearish move right now. And so when you're trading on the intraday side of the equation, have the context for what trends you're really trading in is also gives you a lot of confidence.
Hmm.
Now I say that knowing that I will not short gold, but I do like the pattern here.
Hmm.
But you're seeing what I'm talking about though, Becky, like 3 bars here, you'll get
Yeah.
the 4th there, and once you get that one, at that point, that 90 MA is caught up, and now you can structure this pattern with a continuation violation. And so
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people that like using limit orders to maximize their entry, but what you're doing is, yeah, you're maximizing your return versus entry, but you're giving up probability analysis to maximize your return versus entry. And that's a debate us traders go through all the time because there's a yin and the yang in the market. You're always if you're going to get something, you're always giving up something. And if you're going to get a maximized entry to minimize risk, you are giving up a little bit of probability analysis in doing so.
Hmm.
Whereas if you catch it as it's going down, you usually have a slight edge on the probability, but you're not maximizing your entry. So you're trying to maximize your probability in that situation. And so there's always this debate that we traders have internally regarding return versus risk versus probability. And anytime you try to maximize return, you are going to give up probability analysis and maximizing any return in the market. And
Right.
that happens on intraday charts, that happens on option strategies, that happens on futures, forex, that happens on absolutely every aspect of the market. The market is a very efficient beast. Might not feel that way every now and then, but it is a very effective and efficient beast.
Mhm. Yeah. Balances buyers and sellers. Live auction. Think you making a move?
Let's go look at those for a
No, they're
second.
still hesitating.
I feared as much.
Yeah.
Thought it got stopped out on the ES though.
Yeah. It's good risk management.
I didn't love the momentum shift and everything we were talking about and using that. Like, I was like, well, we're here right now. I might as well just make that decision, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how
MNQ,
it closes.
boring. They're boring. They're boring, Becky.
They're all sideways at the end of power hour. One of these days, we're gonna get another nice, beautiful
They're all boring right now.
power hours. They're not exciting.
Can I convince myself on crude?
No?
Probably not.
Yeah, it's I kind of just it's
Probably not.
on the larger time frames, it's sideways. And so then I pulled out to the 4 hour and I put some trend lines on that, and that's triangling out on the 4 hour on crude. So it could give a break in the sometime in the next week or so, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. That is so much news driven energy in this day and age that is an interesting potential catalyst.
Like I said, they might as well peg it to 70 for the next 3 years.
Maybe.
And then people might be like, but Matt, that's not capitalism. Yeah. But
Mm,
neither is telling the refineries that they have to lower the price just to sell gasoline at a cheaper price for the consumer. So here we are.
yeah.
If you don't know that comment, that was an executive order from yesterday. The president ordered gasoline stations. You need to lower your price right now.
Mm, sure. That's fair.
Gasoline stations aren't the problem with crude oil. State taxation and the Straits of Hormuz being controlled by Iran might be the problem, though.
Could be.
I mean, just throwing it out there.
The maybe. That's a maybe for me.
But I don't want to be a radical, you know.
Mm, so weird. These last 3 5-minute candles are easy bit bullish on gold, but
Yeah, they're just hanging out.
mhm.
2-point range.
Yeah. Maybe it could be a move up on the overnight.
Um, like it's battling the 4K level on the daily chart. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't want to break it because everybody knows what happens if it breaks it. We're getting 3,500 most likely. 3,800's got the 20 monthly on it, but 3,500 is a massive, massive important zone. And so there's a big time battle here. And the bulls are trying to defend 4K and the bears are trying to push it under 4K. And the bulls are saying, we're not going to close under 4K. Bears,
Yeah.
you can test all day long. We're not going to close. And so there's some battles happening right now that I don't really want to be a part of.
Yeah. Let them duke it out. I love the
Yeah,
maturity.
that's fine.
That's such a good example. Yeah, gold is sinking. No. I said bulls and then she sunk.
Well, 90 EMA has
Caught
pretty
up.
much caught up to the pattern now. It officially does when it kisses the wick. Like that's when it officially does, is when the 9 EMA actually touches. But like this is to the point now where you could structure this. And again, you'd put a stop underneath the lows to get it with the continuation on the downside. And stop right now would be right here above 38. We're at that 9 EMA at the top of this wick candle right here. So you're
Mhm.
basically underneath that wick low and you're above that wick. So you're basically taking four ticks range.
There's a little bit of time left.
If we had more time, I would actually like it more,
Yeah.
but we got 3 minutes till imbalances.
Yeah.
I just think more than anything, though, just this was a very good example of in the real time not chasing a breakdown and waiting for that breakdown in the real analysis. And now what you see on this candle, you see those bears come in here because now they have an edge. Now, whether they can do something with it and carry it, that's a different question. But it's not surprising to me on the fourth bar here that we're starting to see a test underneath that level.
Yeah, I think it just poked below it.
Yeah.
Big poke, but
Which you would be in. Like the very second it gets under that level, that's where you would be in. You do
yeah,
not need a
trigger.
close.
Yeah.
All you're doing is playing the pattern. You a close would obviously increase your probability, but who knows where that close is. So I would play it aggressively, but I'm not playing this one, obviously. For
Yeah.
2 I don't
About
short gold. Well, I will short it every now and then when I need to hedge against long term, but
uh-uh.
I don't short day trade just to day trade gold. Like,
Yeah.
no, like there's a lot of instruments we can trade. But I'll hedge if needed be, and covered calls aren't doing enough justice for me, but it's good example. If this was the ES, I'd play it, going into imbalances, but it's gold.
Yeah.
And anybody watching is like, "Why doesn't Matt short gold?" Because I don't short things I love.
It's a long, it's a buy opportunity.
Now, if it was Boeing, yeah, let's have a conversation.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. See you later, buddy.
That's amazing.
You give me a multiple time frame breakdown on Goldman Sachs, I'm gonna get as excited as a pig, and you know what?
Let's go. I love that. Our experiences and our life view is, skew thing. Ooh, here's
I'm
some
very
examples.
simple. I don't like companies that manipulate the financial world, and Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, Deutsche Bank, they just do. Next time I call for a high base, guys, this is what we're gonna wait on, by the way. It played out
Yeah.
very, very perfectly.
Yeah.
What'd I say? It was gonna break down after the fourth bar there, Becky? And what did we do?
Sure
We got to
did.
break down after the fourth bar.
You even could
What'd I
have put a
say?
trend
It's
line
gonna
up under
break
those
down
three.
after the 9 EMA catches up to it. 9 EMA caught up to it, we got the breakdown.
It's like you've traded for a minute.
I've done a few low bases.
So weird.
And I like bases because they're very simple, trades to, kinda set up.
Is there a difference in your technical analysis between a base and a flag?
Not in how you
Like if
trade
it's a
it.
bear
No,
flag?
they're similar. They're very similar. Like, you could make a lot of arguments that bases and flags, like, you know how I called that one when it was first doing a kind of a tweener?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if that thing goes up at all, you gotta call it a flag, and then you wouldn't be waiting on the ultimate breakdown. You would be trading it against that 9 EMA. Whereas if it stays inside the consolidation of the first couple of candles, that's a base, and you wanna trade the base there. But in general, no, I see them very similar. You might enter a little bit differently. Your stop loss might be a little bit different. I do think with flags, you can maximize your entry a little bit more than bases. I think you have to wait for the breakdown in a base. But you don't have to do that in a flag. But those are your two momentum patterns. Like, if there's two patterns I would master the flag and the base because those are your two momentum patterns in any trending environment.
Great point.
By the way,
Great
strong mark.
technical,
Oh, go ahead.
great technical overview. Real time.
Mm.
She's thinking.
I should have shorted, Becky.
I know, me too. I was just my energy today is on the lower side, so I was just
If it
watching
was the ES or the NQ, I would have done it in a heartbeat, but again,
the baby.
I don't cheer down the inflationary hedge.
Hmm.
Although if anybody here shorted it, I hope you get your 25 level here in a minute.
Yeah. Going for it. VWAP is so close there too on gold. It's at 26.5.
Imbalance has really helped this one too, by the way.
The gold short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a little bit of a gift from the trading gods on that analysis, but we'll take it.
Hey, can't be mad about that.
We'll take it.
Think it. Yeah, it could go. VWAP is at 26, 26, 26, 6, 27. So
Yeah, that's on the ES.
gold.
What am I looking at copper for?
Hmm.
Copper bores me.
It's a little slower moving, isn't it?
I don't know. Well, everything depends on your leverage, I suppose, on that one.
Yes.
Uh, but I would put copper similar to silver
Mm,
and definitely not as consistent as the ES or NQ.
mm,
The only time I ever do anything on copper is when I do their proxy plays on FCX, Freeport, which I'm a big fan of Freeport McMoran. But that's when I feel like we have an edge on copper, I just kind of like buying FCX, to be honest with you.
yeah, that's it. To play it. It's a great point.
I
A lot of
honestly
the futures
wouldn't deal with
markets
a
have other.
copper ETF that was liquid at all.
Mm,
There isn't. So you like when you play copper, it's kind of like you have to play either Southern Copper, SCCO, or you have to play FCX, Freeport, and Freeport just always wins because it's more liquid on the option side of the equation. Like Freeport is a option darling for the market. And this is something that like is a little weird to new traders. They're like, "What is FCX?" It's only one of the most liquid stocks in the entire marketplace because it's the only copper play. And so
mhm,
everybody that wants to trade copper, people like myself,
mhm.
we have to use FCX because we don't have a liquid ETF to use. So we have to use the proxy out of FCX or Southern Copper. And again, FCX just always wins because of liquidity.
Yeah. Nice. It's a great point that a lot of futures instruments also have, an ETF or and something behind them that you can trade in another opportunity, such as with options or swing trades or
Yeah.
what have you. So opportunity everywhere.
ACE 50. That's the number. That's the number. 50. 50. You want me to show you the example really quickly? I don't think I can do it in there, so.
On silver?
Yeah. I'm just going to pull over toss for a second. For those of you that don't understand the historical saga of silver, let me just make it very simple. We've had 3 historical moves on silver, one in the late 70s, one in the after the subprime meltdown, and the current one that we have been going on. Now, you see the one in the late 70s, where did it end? $50. You see the one in the late 2010s, where did it, or early 2010s, where did it end? $50. Last time we went through $50 here,
Like
it
a
was
rocket.
also a weekly consolidation level where it broke up and saw a parabolic move all the way to 120. And so where do I feel like technically we got some value? It's $50. And I've had to tell a lot of people recently, be patient, be patient, be patient, because even right now, like the daily chart's starting to show a little hesitation. The daily chart's starting to slow down. We're seeing it on gold as well. But in my estimation, like the edge in the commodity landscape is still down, and it's going to be down as long as the dollar's in this kind of pump pressure here. And so when it comes to silver, answering that number to me is 50. That's what I would say.
Nice.
By the way, that would most likely equate to gold at either 38 or 35, depending on the volatility. Because silver's not going to 50 and gold holds firm. Doesn't March speak tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
March
right
speak
before
tomorrow.
market open.
I want to say 30 minutes before the market open tomorrow.
Yep, that's what I saw too.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was a bell team.
Team, thank you so much for hanging out with us in Power Hour. We didn't get a lot of move up until the end, but had a wonderful conversation on the technical landscape of gold, silver, and all that jazz. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Becky, I'll leave you for some final thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. I appreciate everyone for showing up with us today. Spike Lab Power Hour, some great opportunities and great discussion. So cheers for Team Blue Sky and appreciate you all. And we'll see you guys on the charts tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
Later, team.